Hello everybody, welcome to Tempest Books. I'm Rebecca and today we are doing our very first ever reading vlog. So we are looking at Dragon Rider by Taran Matharu and I'm excited. I actually have been waiting for this book for a couple of months. I had a tab on my phone on the internet just sitting there being saved, waiting so I could make sure I didn't forget about it or miss it. And so let's get to it. Today I'm in my library / office. This is a shed. It's a shed that got converted for me into a workspace. So this is where I do most of my PhD work and it's where my library lives. Right, so yesterday my newest dragon riding book came in. Isn't that so exciting? I'm so excited to read it. It is just quite literally called Dragon Rider. And I am so looking forward to it. It's my dragon month. So, get to it. So I'm only just started chapter 3. I'm literally only 13 pages in. But from what's happened so far, I am seriously reminded of playing the PC game Rome Total War. Because it's talking about an empire that is, just taking over all these places, these military campaigns, people allying with each other to, stand against this mighty foe and great battles. It's like, I kind of want to go and play Rome Total War, but I can't because I want to read the rest of the book. But yeah, it's very, very much all about the war and politics so far. Man, do I feel for our main character. Jai has really not had a great life. Poor little guy. And his role at the palace is not something I could ever see putting up with. And yet, absolutely no choice. I like this guy because of how much he's had to suffer, how much he's had to go through. He's what they've made him become because of who he was born to. I definitely see the absolutely downtrodden under everyone else role gaining, a dragon is astounding sort of plotline we've got going here. It works. I like it so far. So we've had to have a slight venue change. I was not a smart cookie. I completely forgot that the fire ban for the valley has lifted at some point in the last 2 days. And so everyone is burning off all their garden rubbish and wood offcuts and the stuff that's collected over the warmer months of the year. So it's all being burnt off today. Now that it's not banned anymore, you don't need permits anymore. So the valley smells like smoke, wood smoke, and just ugh. So that filters into my little library building a lot more than it does like the actual house building. So I have come back down to the house and I'm going to read here instead. Holy crap, the casual cruelty going on in these first few chapters. Like, I'm only up to chapter 10, we're barely 50 pages in, but they're demonstrated utter cruelty in the very purposeful actions of some of the royals is actually kind of secondhand painful to read. It's like, oh wow, you are very much into showing just how nothing you think of these people. These people that you've subjugated are the lowest of the low to you. It's like painfully horrible to read. I'm loving the blunt language in this book. There is no shits given for swearing and calling names and describing anatomy in completely informal language. I'm enjoying the wording in this book. There are definitely being some super clear racial divides set up here. Like, not just societal divides, so we're not just looking at, servants and upper echelon nobility and royalty. We're seriously looking at these people aren't good enough because they come from somewhere different. These people aren't good enough because they look different. You know, these people are not to be considered human because they're from somewhere that makes them look different to us. So they're really setting up a racial segregation and just the discrimination. So it's interesting to see the lines being drawn and how they're being drawn in the book. And they're doing really well in setting up the main character actually with some skills. So skills I think that are going to come up later in the book. If you take notice of where he's getting them from now, he's not going to seem like, you know, these awesome skills that make him OP just popped up out of nowhere. They're really not. We're learning here that he's been taught a lot of things if he just, you know, kept his eye out and took in what people were saying to him and around him. He might be very low-born and he might be, well, sorry, no, he's not low-born, but he might be from somewhere very different and look very different, but he has got the skills and he's got the knowledge there. They've taught him to him. So I just realised it is well past time for coffee. I've got a slight headache, which means that I have been without caffeine for way too long. So the caffeine has been gotten. It will hopefully do its job in squishing the blood vessels in my brain, making my headache go away. So we are 100 pages or so into the book. I do like it so far. It is really good. It took a sudden swing to violence at one point that I went, oh, we're doing that now. Okay, sure. And another guy was talking about how he ate a platypus. I thought, oh, poor platypus. I hope it stung you before you got to eat it and that you felt it for months. We've been introduced to a couple more magical animals and a couple more different races of people. So that was really cool. We're still in the very political royalty sort of machinations going on. I'm not so fond of that. I'm not a real big, you know, stuck in the drama of the politics of it all for reading. So I'm itching to get to the dragons bit. I want the dragons. We've had some sneak peeks at dragons so far, and that's about it. I want more dragons. So there's definitely been a couple of times that the book has taken me by surprise so far. A couple of scenes that were like, oh, that was graphic, and I did not need to know that part of his anatomy looked like that. But okay, I'm sure it adds something. So we're 150 pages in, we're finally starting to get into, you know, who's the big players here, who's got the plans, where those plans are going. Had some graphic, unalived scenes, had a couple of, oh my god, is that actually going to happen moments. Boy is not a hero just yet. He really just wants to live and thwart those people who really want to off him. But I'm hoping to get to about page 200 or 250 tonight, and I will do a bit of an update on how that went tomorrow. Because I'm tired. It's getting late. Ish. It feels late. So it's not tomorrow yet, but this book has definitely made me think about one particular sort of character in a way that I've never really thought about it before. So often in fantasy books you see like a warrior king in his prime, you see him conquering other lands, you see him subjugating other people, you see him, you know, in his absolute top days, you know, you see how he affects a kingdom while he's ruling it, but you don't really see after his heyday. You don't see him once he's removed from his prime, in his old age. Like, you don't see him when he's decrepit and in a wheelchair and has well and truly passed his best years. But you do in this book. You get a real portrayal of a man who shaped the world as it is in this book. So our main character, Jay, and I'm actually, to be honest, not sure if it's Jay or Jai. It's J-A-I as a character. Actually, I'm going with Jai. I like Jai, not Jay. But Jai is essentially a servant. Like, you very quickly see that he is stuck where he is.
and he has been for the last 10 years. He's been serving this retired emperor for like 10 years, and you get to see this retired emperor in his absolute decrepit old age. He is nothing like the man that brought about this kingdom, who subjugated lands, whose armies absolutely ripped apart anyone who came for them. The king who was on his horse in the midst of that battle is nothing like the old man you see here. And you really get a chance to look at, you know, what happens to these amazing warrior kings if they live long enough to get to old age. You know, they see the fact, we look at the fact that their life is over, but they're still breathing. And, you know, they wish they weren't. They're forgotten. They're relics. They're not important anymore, despite the fact that the very halls that their children and grandchildren are walking are only there thanks to them. But they just wish this old cranky person would hurry up and die so he could move on into memory like he's meant to be. You know, think of him and all the what great things that he did and all his legends, but we can't do that until you actually die, damn it. Just die. And, you know, the idea of this amazing warrior king dying of old age with, you know, maybe dementia or blindness or crippled hands. I've never stopped to really think about that or think about that as an ending of a character. Maybe that's what happens to so many of these fantasy characters after we finish a book series and, you know, after their particular run is done. Then they go through the slightly getting older, they teach their kids all their wisdom, and then they become this decrepit afterthought that no one cares about anymore. I'm kind of sad to think about it, actually. It's like there's no saying that this guy was any sort of good guy, but you also feel sympathy for the fact that he's done, his time is done, he is irrelevant now. He created everything that this empire is, and yet he's of no use because he got old. The other thing that's been really amazingly portrayed in this book is Jai's relationship with the old king. So he has been looking after the old king for 10 years. He's basically a slave to this old man, and yet he's been with him for so long from such a young age. He can't actually hate him. He's a central pillar of his life, despite the fact that his life sucks because of the guy. And like, so the dynamic between them is almost like a father-son dynamic, and despite the fact that for a lot of the time they might even actually like each other, they're so important to each other. And how the dynamic is portrayed, the relationship between the two of them, it's fascinating. It's well written in that it really makes you think about it.
So I'm not quite halfway through the book, but a dragon has just been given a name, and I'm so happy with that name because it is the name that I use for my gaming. So like when I first started playing WoW 16 years ago, it was the name that I picked for my second character ever, which was only about a year after I actually started playing WoW, but it was the name that I continued to use for the next 15 years. And so this dragon has just been given that name. That's so amazing. Good morning, everyone. We are on day 2 of our very first book vlog. We got quite a way through last night. We have about 150 pages left, and I am having a lot of fun so far. I'm fucking exhausted. Like, I don't quite know how exactly people do book vlogging or booktube for a living, but go them. I don't think I can. But it has been fun, and I've been enjoying this book. It's a beautiful sunny day today. It's only about 5 degrees Celsius, so it's not warm, but it's sunny. And we are going to go and set up for the rest of the day. I've got a little bit of work to do, and then I'll probably finish this book. I did spend way too much time seated yesterday, like way too much time. So my normal amount of back pain is like quadrupled. I'm probably going to spend the day reading the book walking in my library because I can't do sitting again today. But on we go. We do have one plot aspect that is bothering me in the fact that the main character is just not seeing it. It's just one of those things you just want to take it and smack him on the head with it and say, it's obvious, why don't you see it? But oh well. I do really like the fallibility that we're seeing in a couple of the characters. It's like, that dude is borderline useless and he is a pain in the ass. But he does know a couple of things and we could use that. And the absolute shortfalls of their personalities are really quite cool. It's like, this guy's an asshole, man, and I don't like him. But again, he's got some useful points. So, you know, kind of left with the fact that we need them. We don't have to like them, but yeah, okay, we need them. Man, the author is unforgiving in what he puts these characters through. I mean, damn. There is just no break for them. Nothing. I could not be ground under this many boots. As like this poor character, I really couldn't. So we're down to less than 100 pages now, and I've just realised one of the things I am absolutely loving about this book is there's no angst. There is basically no angst. Turmoil? Sure. Growth of like personality and growth of morals and growth of view of the world? Sure. All that's happening because there is a lot of strife and there is a lot of crap that the characters are going through, but it's not angst, which is awesome because I hate angst. So that is something that I really got to say is excellent about this book, that it's managing to do all these things to these characters and to give them all these ways that they are changing, that they are growing, and yet it's not angsty. But I think that's brilliant. The descriptions of what this poor character is going through is amazing. It's gory. It's so real and raw, and you should be dead, man. We would be dead. The rest of us bit the dust a quarter of the way through what you're going through. I adore how it's being described. It's astounding what this character is suffering and coming out on the other side of. I died 3 pages back, man, but you keep going. Go. And the way that they describe the magic system and with the soul bonded like beings, animals and magic and stuff, like it has a lot to do with breathing. Breathing is really important, and I keep finding myself doing the breathing with the character, which is so cool. It's like I'm getting so into these descriptions and into this book and into what he's doing with his magic systems. Like, I'm breathing too. I'm doing these breaths, and every now and then I get lightheaded and go, no wait, I need to breathe normally. Go back to being regular. Holy guacamole, we're done. Like, the ending was astounding, but it also seriously reminded me as to why I tend to only read a series once it's finished. It's like, no, I have to wait, God, probably 12 months or more for the next book. No. There are so many unanswered questions, and there is a massive, glaring absence in the last page or so. That means that we have absolutely no idea of one really critical aspect to the plot going into the next book. It's not even a cliffhanger. It's just vanished. What happened? And I can't even say it properly because I don't want to do spoilers. Oh, look, I loved this book. This book was excellent. I adored just how many horrible things the author put the main character through. Jai, if he comes out at the end of this series, is going to be someone I will never, ever, ever, ever fuck with. Ever.
This kid is the shit, man. I can't believe what he went through. I can't believe he lived through it. I can't believe what he's forged himself through and continued on. It was astounding. It was an amazing book for description. Just describing what this character went through was done so well. The pain, the tortures, the agony in various physical and mental ways, and he lived. That's nuts to start with, but the sheer balls to the walls determination to get through each thing that he faces, and even in those times where he has absolutely given up, some tiny shred of something still manages to get him through it. I did love the dragon aspect, and I also loved that they were creatures that were as valuable as anyone else. Like, people make mistakes. Dragons make mistakes. Dragons can be hurt. That's awesome. They are not just the mythical, unkillable, astounding creatures. Like, they're that, but they're also a real creature who can get hurt, who can make mistakes, who can think and feel for themselves in positive and negative ways. I do think there are also quite a few areas of the book that are waiting for payoff still. So there are certainly areas and plot lines and plot devices that we've got left hanging. Hopefully they'll come back in the next book. That one missing thing from those last 2 pages, or the last page, is going to bother the shit out of me until the next book comes. Because how does that vanish? How does that go poof? Where did it go? What happened to it? I have to know. And I'm not going to know until the next book comes, and it's going to bug the shit out of me for at least 3 days before I'll go, I'll just have to forget about it until the time comes, because I'll have to wait for the next book. I am definitely looking forward to knowing how exactly what Jai has been through in this book shapes him for the future. Like, what he's been through, his experiences, how they mold him and change him. We don't really get to see that in this book very much. Things are just too go, 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 happening all the time. Constant trauma, constant go, constant on the run, bang, bang, bang. And because of that, there's never really time to see the effects of that in his psyche, in his mentality, in him as a person. Like, he does spurts of growth, but how it's changed him at a fundamental level beyond just magic or physical growth is something I'm looking forward to seeing. I am hoping that all those changes that everything he's gone through will do to him, plus all the things that he's learnt over the years, that even if he doesn't really realise that they're in his head and that they're valuable, I'm hoping to see those things combine and turn him into someone who is beyond a force to be reckoned with. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. I hope that is one of the things that will happen to his character. But that's it, guys. We're done. First ever reading vlog. What did you think? What can I do better or differently? Or what am I doing wrong? Because it was really tiring to do this vlog, and I feel like it shouldn't be as tiring as it was. Like, at first it was really awkward, but eventually I kind of got into the flow of it, and it became fun, but it was never not tiring. So let me know what you think, and I will see you next time, guys.